Hello, ZeroEmpires here. With the release of Age of Empires 2 DE, I fully expect a lot of new players to be entering the game, and this video is for them. If you are new to Age of Empires 2, then here are 7 quick tips specifically for you. It is really worthwhile to have a lot of villagers in AoE2. The more villagers you have, the faster you'll gather resources and the more you'll be able to do. You should aim to have 60% of your total population as villagers, so in a standard 200 population game, that would be 120 vills. Once you reach the Castle Age, it's a good idea to add 2 new town centres so that you can produce villagers faster and also protect them more easily at the same time. You do start with 200 stone, so all you need to do is gather 275 wood for each new TC before you can start building them. Make sure to explore your own map before exploring the rest. I do see a lot of new players take their scout and right-click somewhere on the minimap looking for their enemy immediately at the start of the game. And while it's great to know where your enemy is, it's even more great to know what your own map looks like first. Scouting for your sheep, boar, nearby gold, nearby stone is really important, especially at the start of the game where you need to focus on gathering food so that you can keep villager production going and eventually get enough to click up to the feudal age. Once you've found those resources, then going out to scout the rest of the map and look for your enemy is the next best thing to do. On the topic of gathering food, be sure to take both of your boar, or in some cases elephants or rhinos. These are the best and fastest early game food sources and will give you a big boost towards getting the 500 food needed for feudal age. You actually don't need to farm in the Dark Age if you take all of the natural food that spawns around you. And while farming does become necessary as you move into the feudal age, it does slow you down at the start of the game when compared to taking all of the sheep and boar that spawn nearby. There are now 35 unique civilizations in Definitive Edition, but don't feel overwhelmed. When you're getting started, most civs really aren't too different, as they all share the same basic units. While some civs are easier to play and even stronger in some situations, these differences don't really play out until you start learning build orders and start to play more competitively. If you're playing against the AI for fun, then any civ will serve you well. Take a few minutes to check the tech tree before you start playing, and then you can see what that civ does best. If you're a bit more serious about winning, then sticking to a single civilization and learning to master the game mechanics is a much better approach. Learning how to go through the Dark Age efficiently is a much better place to start than trying to learn each of the civs at once. Using hotkeys is really good. However, of all the hotkeys in the game, the Jump to Town Center and the Idle Villager hotkeys are by far the most useful. They're also really easy to remember and to use. First, the Jump to Town Center hotkey, which is H by default. It will bring your camera and selection to your town center and always serves as a quick way to focus you back to your base if you're ever looking away. Every time you press it, you can also see if you've got a villager in the queue, and if you haven't, then you should definitely train one. Second is the Idle Villager hotkey, which is period by default. The last thing you want is your villagers idling around and being unproductive. Set them back to work again quickly by using the Idle Villager hotkey to root out the slackers. Shift clicking, or command queuing, is another really useful way of staying on top of your villagers. Often, villagers fall idle when you pull them away from gathering a resource and tell them to build something. But by command queuing, you can tell a villager to build something and then return straight back to work once they've finished. This just reduces the chance that you'll forget about them later and leave you to focus on more important things instead. Another common mistake that I see a lot of newer players making is trying to trade too early in the game. Trading is really important for making sure that you don't run out of gold and can continue to make expensive and strong units. However, trade carts are very expensive themselves, and they take some time to pay themselves back. It's not a good use of your resources in the feudal or even the castle age to begin creating trade carts when there's literally thousands of gold still on the ground. Villagers gather gold much more consistently and faster than trade carts, and they require much less upfront investment. Not only this, but the largest expense of trade carts is the wood cost. And until you reach the Imperial Age, your wood is much better spent on buildings, farms, new town centres and military units. When you finally have all of those things, along with lots of villagers and a surplus of wood, that's when you want to start your trade. In expert matches, that's usually around the 40-minute mark. However, as a new player, starting trade might not even be necessary until an hour or later into the match. Anyway, that wraps up the 7 tips. I hope you can put these to good use in the game and they will help you to become a better player. But for now, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.